Hey, good morning. Patricia Murphy here. It's Saturday. This is Seattle Now. Today we're bringing you the best from the KUOW Newsroom. We'll start with a story on how local social workers are working to treat anorexia, specifically a complex condition known as atypical anorexia. It presents in a person who has a BMI categorized as normal or even overweight. It's often misunderstood, even though experts say more people have atypical anorexia than people with low body mass. Eilish O'Neill has the story.
Erica Queen grew up outside Olympia and now lives in Mount Vernon. She says for as long as she can remember, she's been teased, shamed, and bullied about her body.
I was always like the chunky kid. People have always liked to point it out. I very quickly developed shame around it. And then as I got older and learned more about food and calories and nutrition and things like that, I latched onto that math like nobody's business.
Queen says, along with the obsession with food was a constant internal dialogue.
You're too fat. You need to lose weight. You are not acceptable. This is not okay. What's gone through my head for 35 years is my body size is not acceptable. It needs to be smaller.
Queen says she could have been diagnosed with atypical anorexia when she was as young as 9, but no one figured out she wasn't eating.
Nobody noticed. Nobody noticed when the fat girl loses weight.
It wasn't until 2016, when she was in her mid-30s, that she got treatment for her eating disorder.
Atypical anorexia is regular old anorexia that happens to a person whose body is not considered underweight.
Erin Harrop is an assistant professor of social work at the University of Denver and a clinical social worker at Opal, an eating disorder treatment center in Seattle. Harrop says atypical anorexia is just as dangerous and life-threatening as low-weight anorexia.
When a body is starving and not getting the energy that it needs to survive, it just starts taking different functions offline.
Some people think it can't be harmful for a person in a larger body to starve themselves because they can just burn their fat instead of eating food. But fat isn't the same as food. It's not nutritionally complete. So people in larger bodies who have anorexia have the same health problems as people in smaller bodies.
In someone who is starving, regardless of body size, we see menstrual irregularity. We also see immune function drop. Our heart rates get a lot slower. Blood pressure drops, body temperature drops. All of those things can lead to cardiac problems, kidney problems, and immune problems that can ultimately take someone's life.
Even so, it generally takes years longer for people with atypical anorexia to get a diagnosis. People around them don't express concern. They tell them dieting and losing weight is a good thing. Medical professionals can have the same blind spot and often miss or dismiss clinical signs of an eating disorder, such as rapid dramatic weight loss, dizziness and fainting, missed periods, or a racing heart. It can also be harder to recover from atypical anorexia. Instead of people congratulating them on their recovery, people often make comments about taking recovery, quote, too far, or they tell the person recovering from an eating disorder that they looked better when they were starving. Erin Harrop, the social worker in Colorado, has suffered from atypical anorexia themselves.
Every day I have to live in a world filled with diet culture that tells me I looked better before when I was starving, that I was healthier before, even though now I don't have a heart condition, I don't have kidney failure, I'm not at risk for osteoporosis, I've been able to have a child.
Okay, so we have a partial hospitalization program here. So clients are here 6 to 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday. So there's a lot of meals happening here, a lot of group therapy, a lot of individual.
Here in Seattle, there's an intensive eating disorder clinic that was one of the first to treat atypical anorexia. On the 5th floor of a nondescript office building in the University District, there's a cafeteria and rooms for group and individual counseling.
We have, this is called Jetsam. It's our sizeless boutique, so we cut the sizes out of all the clothing when we can, so clients can pull clothes as their bodies change during treatment and get some free clothes that are fitting maybe their new body.
Lexi Giblin is a psychologist and one of Opal's co-founders. She says they used to see patients with eating disorder in private practice.
We would send our clients to residential treatment facilities for care, and they would get prescribed restrictive food diets. They would go to treatment for eating disorder and get prescribed an eating disorder, which was just infuriating.
That's why Giblin and others founded Opal. Giblin says even if someone can find a weight-inclusive treatment program, insurance will sometimes deny coverage to people with larger bodies. Some people wonder, if people with atypical anorexia are trying to lose weight, can't they accomplish that with the new weight loss drugs, the GLP-1s? But eating disorder experts say that's not the answer.
I'm pretty concerned about how this is going to go.
For one thing, people with anorexia are already not eating enough. If GLP-1s allow them to restrict even further, that would increase their health problems and their risk of serious complications. Erin Harrop, the researcher in Colorado, says also an eating disorder is not the same thing as a goal weight.
We don't get to our goal weight and be like, oh, good, the eating disorder is quieter now. We lose that weight, and the more weight we lose, the louder and louder that eating disorder gets.
In other words, people with eating disorders need to heal their relationships with food and with their bodies, and GLP-1s can't help with that. Erica Queen has dealt with all of this. Insurance denying coverage for treatment because she wasn't skinny enough. Fat shaming at the office when she got back from residential treatment, with coworkers telling her she'd recovered, quote, too much weight. Treatment centers, relapses. Just last year, she had another relapse and lost more than 15% of her body weight. Her heart rate got so fast and out of sync, she had to go to the ER, where they used electrical shocks to restore a normal heartbeat. She says she's trying to avoid another relapse, but she also doesn't think she'll ever really be better.
I don't think recovery, how they talk about it, is really an option. I don't recall ever being in a body that I was comfortable in, other than when I was really sick. I have hated the skin that I'm in for 35 years.
Atypical anorexia has existed as a condition for as long as, quote, regular old anorexia has. But the diagnosis itself is relatively new and gaining recognition every day. Eilish O'Neill, KUOW News.
Next, a story about Southwest Washington's Willapa Bay. It's known around the world for oysters, but every summer the bay also turns into a shark superhighway. Sharks migrate in from the ocean, and Northwest researchers are beginning to understand why. OPB science reporter Jess Burns reports.
Catching one of the Pacific Northwest's top predators takes time, a little luck, and big chunks of meat.
Can I trade you for a salmon tail at the bottom?
Yeah.
I think it's good luck. They love a salmon tail.
Oregon State University shark researcher Jess Schulte slips a chunk of fresh salmon on a hook about as big as her palm and tosses it into the gray-blue water.
We're in.
Schulte, undergrad Devin Guerrero, and Big Fish Lab co-director Alex McInturf are studying broad-nosed seven-gill sharks, one of about 15 shark species native to the Pacific Northwest.
Sharks in general are really hard to find, but here in Willapa Bay we find a ton of sharks, just an absolute bonkers amount of sharks. This is what haunts me at night. Why are there so many sharks here? Oh, look. So we have a seven-gill. Woo! Oh my gosh, she's huge.
She is. About 7 feet long and a girthy 200-plus pounds. The scientists guide the shark onto a stretcher beside the boat and winch it on board.
Shark coming up.
They take good care of her. A wand in her mouth pushes water over her gills so she can breathe. A cloth over her eyes keeps her calm. The crew tags, measures, and draws blood. After about 10 minutes, their work with the big female is done.
You see a really strong swim off. Whew, she said, bye. Thank you, lady.
Big Fish Lab co-director Taylor Chappell says sharks play a key role in the ecosystem.
If we want to be able to fish, to catch salmon, to catch crab, we need to understand how the predators are playing in those systems.
Through the lab's research, they've seen that seven gills come to Willapa Bay every March. Schulte has tagged more than 300 sharks here over the past few summers, hoping to figure out what prompts the migration.
They're actually much more social than we think they are. And so it's possible that they could be coming up here for some sort of seven-gill hangout, in addition to, a buffet of food.
The team hasn't nailed down the details of the social lives of seven gills in the bay, but But they have solved the mystery of what the sharks are eating with a revealing technique.
It's called a non-lethal lavage. It doesn't harm the shark, but it does take their lunch.
They get another shark on board.
Coming down. Okay.
All right, you're on head.
I'm on head. You're on stomach.
They tilt the shark's head down, fill its belly with water, then squeeze it out.
Rock and roll.
All right, going in.
On the boat, they call this maneuver puking the shark.
Got your chunks.
Almost immediately, Schulte gets a whiff of something familiar.
I think there's definitely seal. I can smell the seal. Ugh. It's just like a weird side effect of this job that I've developed. A weird skill that I have that many people don't is that I can predict what's inside the shark based on the shark's breath.
They run the puke through a strainer, and Schulte's suspicions are validated.
I see fur. I see fur. I see fur. Oh! We can tell it's a harbor seal from the fur, so we know it's a mammal, and the spotting pattern that we have on the fur, so that's pretty distinct for harbor seal. We also see a flipper.
Willapa Bay is full of salmon and sturgeon, yet nearly 2/3 of what they found in the stomachs of 7 gills here has been seal.
Harbor seals and other marine mammals eat a lot of salmon, and so it's potential that the 7 gills eating the harbor seal could be really good for the salmon in the sense that they're keeping marine mammal populations down and allowing salmon populations to rebound.
And this means these sharks are not only emblems of a healthy ecosystem, they're likely contributing to healthy fisheries as well. I'm Jess Burns, reporting.
And finally, a story about high school athletes at Washington State School for the Blind. You probably know most sports by name, even if you're not a fan, but have you heard of goalball? OPB's Eric Newman has the story from Vancouver, Washington.
It's nearly silent inside the gymnasium. Players are crouched 3-on-3 in an area the size of a volleyball court. They wear blacked-out goggles and are trying to anticipate a 3-pound ball being hurled past them into a large net. The silence in the gym is only partly anticipation. It's also the rules. If anyone makes noise, the defending team won't be able to hear the ball to stop it. A member of the Washington State School for the Blind, Lions, rolls a ball across the court and scores. This is part of the Junior Cascade Classic at the School for the Blind in Vancouver. Goalball is the only sport designed specifically for people who are blind or low vision. Jen Armbruster is one of the organizers of today's competition.
Ball is about the same size of a guy's basketball, but no air pressure, so it's about a 3-pound medicine ball. At the higher levels, we're throwing between 35 miles an hour on the women's side and between 35 and 40 miles per hour on the guy's side.
Armbruster lost her vision as a teenager. At the time, basketball had been her ticket to college.
Was playing competitive basketball when I went legally blind, and so got called actually up to say try this sport called goalball. It had ball in it, so I said, what the heck, let's do it.
She's a 7-time Paralympian who has won gold, silver, and bronze medals. She's now retired from the sport and helps organize competitions like this one at the School for the Blind. Let's go, Lions! Let's go! At the Junior Cascade Classic, there are teams from Utah, Montana, California, and Florida. The atmosphere is fun. Players have guide dogs in the bleachers, and no one seems too upset if their opponents score. But it's clear the Washington State Lions take the game seriously as they huddle in a circle with their coach between halves.
I think you should keep going with your spin throws.
Okay.
They're beautiful. Yes. You're almost going to...
Theo Burkhalter is a senior playing for the Lions.
I have never seen really a sport, honestly, out there that is about sound, really, and everything's about spatial awareness.
He likes the part about the game that involves being quiet. Sneaky, he says. One of the only ways players know the ball is coming is a small bell inside of it. It jingles towards them at 30 miles an hour. Jess Jinks is another player on the Vancouver women's team.
I'm listening for footsteps, kind of, because sometimes players want to walk, switch around, trying to confuse you or something.
When players throw the ball bowling style across the court, their opponents have to dive to the ground to block it. 12th grader Lee Ling Justin says during games, she's thinking about how to cover the gaps between her 3-person team.
Well, what I'm thinking about is where the ball is going to be coming from and which direction it will come to. Will it come to the left or to the right?
Goalball was created in 1946, according to the International Paralympic Committee. It was designed as a form of rehabilitation for veterans who lost their sight during World War II. Another Lions team member is Owen Bowe. He played competitive football before going blind.
When I went blind, I didn't know of any other sport. I didn't even know blind people had sports. So when I found out about goalball, I was thrilled, and I just fell in love with it.
Owen's mom and dad are at the tournament. They like that here, goalball is treated like sports in public schools. Carla Bowe says students have to make practices and keep their grades up to compete.
We like that. We like that they're not treated any differently. It is a different sport in that you have to be quiet when they play, and we're used to like cheering and yelling, and so we're like, oh, like you can't say anything. So, but for Owen, it's been great.
One of the administrators at the school is Corey Grandstaff. He went to the Ohio School for the Blind and played goalball in the early 2000s.
You know, there's a lot of other sports that have been adapted for people who are blind, but this is a sport specifically made for people who are blind. I think that's what makes it unique.
Here at the school, he says, goalball athletes are getting a chance to be active, to be part of a team, and to earn their spot.
You're going to have to work hard to get what you get out of life, right? But life can also throw you some disappointments, right? And so, you know, you learn to lose, right? You learn to win, you learn to lose. You learn all these different skills that any athlete would learn.
Washington State School for the Blind Lions men's and women's teams each got 3rd place at the Junior Cascade Classic. They're competing in the Youth Nationals in Texas in December. I'm Eric Newman reporting.
Really appreciate you listening to Seattle Now, and thanks to our generous donors for your support. Help us out by clicking the link in the show notes and following and rating the show on your podcast app. Our production team includes Caroline Chamberlain Gomez, Vaughn Jones, Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers, Andy Hurst, and Paige Browning. Greg Kramer does our theme music. Seattle Now and KUOW Public Radio are members of the NPR network. I'm Patricia Murphy. See you soon.